What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy, and we have a lot of things that are actually currently going on with the Kansas City Chiefs. There really is kind of a lot of moving pieces, and on top of that, we have just some important information to pass on. And I think as we progressively get closer to the first official game of the season, as we get ready to head to Brazil, I think some other information will continually come out. Obviously, this team is still dealing with some injuries. Ladies and gentlemen, you go to multiple Super Bowls, you make deep runs into playoffs, and you don't turn over a high rate of players on your roster. Those guys are still going to be dealing with some things. They're still going to be having those aches and pains. You know, the season is a long grind. They practice a lot. They play a very physical, contacted sport. And so, yeah, there's going to be some things that are currently going on. The specific player that we're going to be talking about, and I really think it was going to be fascinating to see really his contribution anyways, because this wide receiver room is so deep, and that's Jalen Royals. Jalen Royals is obviously dealing with some knee tendonitis. And, you know, Andy Reid came out and really spoke in his press conference and talked about the injury, basically stating that, you know, he's kind of working through it, and that's expected. If you're able to practice and able to kind of do what you need to do, you're gonna get through it. But he really didn't provide a timeline. He just kind of forecasted down the road. And really that could mean anything. But he did kind of make it sound like he's a lot closer than we anticipate. He's just not quite there. And so really it's kind of an enigma sometimes. It's a riddle with Andy Reid when it comes to injury reports. And we saw that numerous years. We saw it with Eric Berry. And Eric Berry was like day to day every single day. And so there's just a lot of question marks sometimes around Andy Reid when it comes to injury reports. He probably doesn't want to reveal his hand, show too many cards, those types of things. And so obviously with Jalen Royals dealing with some knee tendonitis, he probably will not play in the first game. And he could be even questionable for that second game against the Philadelphia Eagles, so we'll have to see. I think it's kind of an impact because obviously you're dealing with a loss to Rasheer Rice due to his 6-game suspension. So really you're kind of looking at Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Xavier Worthy, and really so on. Obviously Tyquan Thornton. I always say Travis Kelce because he plays like a wide receiver, although he's a tight end. But it makes sense now that Rasheer Rice has been put on the suspension list. You do sign Robert to the active roster, and so that'll give Patrick Mahomes another weapon to really identify, throw to. And again, obviously you're not going to replace the contribution of what a Rasheer Rice can provide you, but you can culminate and bring guys together to replicate those statistics. So a guy like Robert Tonyan may get a few balls here and there that could total like 25, 30 yards, and then you get someone else that contributes the same, and that would almost be a similar contribution to what a Rasheer Rice would provide this team. So you can kind of piece it together, and I think that's what the Kansas City Chiefs intend to do. Before we wrap up this video, I just want to kind of give you some updates on some practice squad adjustments as well. With Robert Tonyan signing to the active roster, there has been some movement on the practice squad. So the Kansas City Chiefs signed the following players to the practice squad. Ethan Downs, a defensive end from Oklahoma. Clyde Edwards-Helaire does return to the Kansas City Chiefs on the practice squad. Obviously, we know he comes from LSU, and we really have a good history with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Broderick Martin, a D-tackle from Western Kentucky. One of the players that I'm actually really intrigued and excited to see what he potentially could provide and maybe see when he gets added to the 53-man is Zach Pickens. I do believe he was a former third-round pick, and so I'm excited to see what he can potentially provide an area like the D-tackle. And obviously we know as the Kansas City Chiefs, a lot of people were very discouraged that Mike Pennel did not make this team. And I'm right in the same boat with them. I was pretty discouraged that they didn't. They go and trade for Derek Nottie, bring him in. Really kind of the explanation that we were given as fans, as media, is that the Kansas City Chiefs defensive front needs to get younger. And that was their intent, is to get younger on that defensive front. And so that would explain why Mike Pennel did not make this team. They did go back and trade for a Derek Nottie. And we're seeing guys like Zach Pickens being brought in, a guy like Broderick Martin, those types of people. It looks like Jamie Robinson, a safety from Florida State, Tyreek Smith, a defensive end from Ohio State. And with all these additions and kind of, there obviously has to be some subtraction. So 2 players were obviously terminated from their practice squad contracts, and it can happen that quick, ladies and gentlemen. And that is Keziah Izzard and Hal Presley. Keziah was a D tackle from Penn State. Really kind of watched some highlight tape on him. I think he had some potential, but obviously he is terminated from his contract. And Hal Presley, a receiver from Baylor, did not make the practice squad for very long. So that is going to be this video, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate all your support. I really do. I'm excited for this upcoming game as we get, obviously are going to be heading to Brazil. I think there's going to be a lot of good content heading up to that game to really talk about. Obviously, we're talking about an AFC West opponent. We're talking about, playing in a different country. There's a lot of good things that are going to be coming from content reasons. So I'm excited to provide all that to you. Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. And as always, I end every video the exact same way. Have a good day.